Hello and welcome, this is rooflemonger, and this is a beginner's guide to Street Fighter V Champion Edition. So maybe you're just straight up new, you just got the game. I know a lot of folks just very recently got it free on PlayStation Plus. Maybe you played the game a long time ago, back when it was a little bit more dire straits. Season 1 and Season 2 were not the best. The game's in a much better state now, and you're trying out again, you needed a bit of a refresher. Whatever you may need, this guide is just to help you through the basics of how Street Fighter V works. Now, before we get into it, this game has some decent tutorials. You're going to have to go through some menus, but I would highly suggest try the tutorials, try out the character-specific stuff. Plus, it gives you fight money. You can use that to buy stages and characters. And also, this video will have timestamps in it. It'll probably be a longer video, so if you just want to skip ahead to certain sections, feel free to use the timestamps. And with all that said, let's get right into it. So, let's start at the start, and let's just talk basics of movement. You know, hit backwards to go backwards, hit forward to go forward, all that kind of stuff. Hit up to jump, and you can hit up in a direction to jump in that direction. If you double tap forward, you will forward dash. This is generally the best way to gain forward space. So if you really need to get in on that enemy, hey, there you go. And of course, if you need back really quick, then backdash. Now, one thing to note here very quickly about backdashing is throw immune. So it is actually a very good defensive tool on top of just the general movement. So if you're waking up and feel that you're about to be thrown, on top of taking a throw, you are allowed to backdash it as well. Now, let's talk your gauges. We have two kinds of gauges, your V-trigger gauge and your critical art gauge. Your critical art gauge is your traditional super gauge, like just about most kind of every fighting game has. And you can do two things with it. One, you can burn it all on your big ultimate super attack, and that's different character to character. And secondly, you can spend 1 bar of it to EX enhance one specific move. Now, EXs work different characters to characters, and they give different properties for each character. Like for Ryu, his EX Shoryuken is full invincible, whereas other Shoryukens, be it light, medium, or heavy, they have different kinds of invincibility separately, and we'll talk more about that later. But the EX version is just invincible all the way. So it's basically a turbocharged version of your attack, and it'll come with special properties. Your critical art gauge, you'll build it just by doing anything, really. Either by attacking, blocking, defending, you'll just build it naturally over the course of the game. There's a couple people that have certain abilities to turbocharge it, but for the most part, just play the game and you'll get it. Now, the V-trigger. Now, the V-trigger building, that's a bit different. For the most part, there are a couple exceptions. You build that up by getting hit, by taking damage. And when you activate it, then all of a sudden, you got some sort of buff to work with. Maybe you do a special move. V-triggers, once again, are different character to character, and everyone has two. So there's a lot of different options. In this version here, Ryu, he gets super charged up fireballs. So your V-trigger, on top of giving you a special mode or a special attack, that kind of stuff, it is also very defensively minded, as you can use it to do what we call a V-reversal, and in a V-reversal, it's basically a get-off-me move. So in this scenario here, Sakura is hitting us, and we do our V-reversal, and it's basically just a big get-off-me move, and takes one of our gauges of our V-reversal. So in this scenario here, we do get the get-off-me move, but now we are much further away to our goal of being able to get whatever our V-trigger is, right? So you have to choose, okay, am I going to get my big move, or am I just going to say get off me and get a little bit of breathing space? So on top of having V-triggers, and they have multiple versions, we also have V-skills. Now these don't cost any resource. You can just do this whenever you want, and every character has two. I have Abigail as our example here because I figure he has two equally viable ones. His V-skill 1 is a defensive mechanic. It's effectively a parry. And this parry comes out faster than his regular moves can. So like his regular jabs and regular light kicks here, they're very slow in comparison to a lot of characters. However, this parry comes out very quick. So he can use this defensively to kind of cover one of his faults, you know. He has slow moves, but this parry is very fast, and it deals with a lot of issues he has. So it's really good in that regard, right? But we also have V-skill 2, come on spare tire, and this basically amplifies his offense. So a literal tire just comes in from off screen. And you can mess around with it, you can do all sorts of fun stuff with it, whatever you so choose. You want to use it like a projectile, you want to use it like a shield to cover your incoming advance, whatever you want. Hey, it's awesome. So basically we have it broken down in this way. The tire is a very offensive V skill. It helps amplify his offense, and his V skill 1 helps amplify his pretty weak defense. So you can basically just go wherever you want. Some characters unfortunately have the one correct V skill option, like the one's just way better than the other. But for a lot of the cast, you basically it's basically what you prefer. Some are offensive, some are defensive, some just lead to weird tricks. And it's just basically the world's your oyster when it comes, and it's personal preference on these matters. So use whatever is best for you. Now, another very basic part of Street Fighter and just fighting games in general is just throws. So you just get near the enemy and you hit light attacks together, light punch and light kick, and you chuck them. Now, damage is different character to character. Generally speaking, back throws do more damage than forward throws in this game, just so you know. And sometimes you might get setups off it. It really is character to character. But it's just a general thing of, okay, this person's blocking too much. Everything I do, they're going to block, 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 and I got to get some damage in some way, somehow. So get chucked, because throws are unblockable. The only ways out of a throw is to either backdash the throw, because once again, backdashes are throw immune, or to tech the throw. And how do you tech a throw? Well, simply put, when they are about to throw you, that's when you yourself input the same throw button. And when you input it correctly, then you throw the enemy away, you tech the throw. That's all there is to it. So if you know the throw is coming, it's pretty easy to deal with. Now, fighting games being all about play and counterplay, if I know what you're going to do, I'm going to do something to beat it. We also have what we call the shimmy. So if I knock you down, I want to go for the throw, right? Well, hey, the enemy's set to throw when they wake up, so I'm just going to get teched. Like, that's it, right? But what the shimmy is, effectively, is you put yourself in distance of the throw, and then you just basically walk out of it and punish the whiff. As if the enemy goes to tech a throw and there is no throw to tech, well, they do the throw animation anyways, and they are locked into it, which means perfect time to punish them. So it can be something as simple as this. You look like you're going to go for the throw, then you just walk right back out. And then, once you see that throw whiff, then you punish it. Something like that, right? Pretty easy, pretty basic. Some characters have really vicious setups for it, and some people it's just a simple button press, but still is better than nothing, right? So this is basically a really strong way to bait out someone who is just very reliant. Because when you wake up especially, or if you're being pressured, you can delay your throw just a tiny bit. So if they go for a move, you get to block, and if they went for the throw, then the tech will happen, just slightly delayed. So you basically get the best of both worlds, and this is basically to punish that reliance on exactly that. To make it look like you're going to go for the throw, and if they go for that throw tech, then you crack their heads in. Now, let's talk a term you've probably heard a lot when you've just heard anything about fighting games, and that is the neutral. And basically, the neutral is when both players are just, no one has an advantage, and you both got a lot of screen to work with, right? So if you've seen any amount of Street Fighter, or heck, even a lot of fighting games, you probably see movement like this, where people are moving back and forth, and just, you know, it seems like nothing's happening, but it's actually very important what is happening, because it's all about the movement and controlling of space. A lot of times when you see back and forth movement like this, it is to bait something big. So since we have Chun-Li anyways, let's use her as our base here. Chun-Li's neutral is this. She throws a lot of fireballs. She has a charged fireball, so she has to hold back to do it. But conversely, she also, on the light versions, gets to move a bit while the fireball's still on screen, which is rare depending on character to character. And she has much bigger buttons than most characters. Like, she can hit you from this far away. Most characters cannot hit you from that far away. That is a Chun-Li thing, right? There are some characters, but a lot of the cast, that's a range they can't fight back from, right? So Chun-Li's neutral is basically, okay, I want to control space with fireballs, and I kind of want to keep you at the edge of my Stand Fierce punch. And here's the thing. When I successfully am keeping you at the edge of the Stand Fierce punch, you got to do something to get around it. It behooves you, the opponent player. Well, okay, if I can't beat that, then I got to do something different than just keeping on my ground, right? And that becomes special moves, jumping a lot, and all that kind of stuff. And a key part of what neutral is to say, I as Chun-Li, I know you're getting frustrated, and I know you can't beat this move, then I'm going to expect you to jump. And as soon as you jump, then I'm going to use my stand light kick to knock you out of the air, right? And that's like really basic neutral 101. There's so many layers of depth, and there's so much character-specific stuff, but that is generally the gist. you want to fight at the range of your best and longest range moves. So for Chun-Li, it'd be stand fierce punch and just keeping people at bay with fireballs and that kind of stuff, and forcing people to want to jump, and at that point, I knock you out of the air. Like in Street Fighter 2, it's the classic Guile. I just do Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom until you get frustrated, and then when you finally jump, Flash Kick. Now let's take a little bit of a different look at it. So Chun-Li has a very traditional style neutral. Classic Street Fighter style, right? Someone like Blanka plays it a bit different. Now he has tools like, stand medium's not bad, crouch heavy, punch. It's got the range, right? He can do that kind of stuff, but then he also has stuff like the rainbow rolls, where the rainbow rolls, that rainbow roll, his heavy kick rainbow roll, is plus on block. So there's a bit of a startup to it, but I can just say, no, I'm just going to literally flip over everything that's happening on the mid part of the screen, and I'm just going to be on your face whenever I want. And if you were not quick enough to tell that's happening, like, anti-air me, dragon punch, or whatever button your character might have, then you got screwed over. You just lost. I'm now plus frames. I'm advantage over you. Any button I have will happen first. That's the general of what plus frames are. And yeah, you kind of screwed up. And stuff like Blanka Balls. So Blanka Balls, depending on the character, depending on the match, can be somewhat difficult for certain characters to deal with. So Blanka's neutral could literally be, I'm just going to keep flipping over and over and over until you figure it out, right? Like, he can play a more traditional style, but for him, being nuts is part of his neutral. He can just go bananas and just kind of work from there. So character to character, you really got to worry. Some people, it's just the traditional back forth hit buttons, and someone like Blanka, depending on the matchup, he can just start flipping and rolling all over the place, and you have to learn to deal with it. So, but either way, either being like traditional stuff or madcap flips, it is still controlling the neutral space, right? The space between two characters, and nobody quite has an advantage over each other. So while one's a bit more crazier than the other, it's still valid neutral. And of course, when is neutral over? Well, when one character's on top of the other character, there's not really enough room for spacing back and forth, and one character is just clearly in the corner, well, neutral definitely isn't happening at that point. It's all on the aggressor. The aggressor has all the space in the world to move backwards. The defender, well, not so much. Their movement's very much inhibited, and they don't got too much to work with. So after someone's winning in neutral, either they're just getting too many hits in, or just pushing the person in the corner, the other person's going to get frustrated, and one of the most easiest ways out is to just jump in, right? Jumping in bypasses the whole floor is lava kind of deal. I don't got to deal with your big buttons, I don't got to deal with your stuff. I'm just going to jump in and hit you. And at that point, that's when you need to know the anti-air game. For someone like a Guile, he is incredibly blessed. He can just do flash kicks, he can do crouching heavy, he's got buttons for days. If he knows you're going to jump, I can air throw you too, all that kind of stuff, right? So he's definitely blessed when it comes to anti-air stuff. Now, of course, if you're too late, like if you flash kick too late, or if they cross up, sometimes things will miss, but for the most part, he can easily shut stuff down, right? There's only so many Sonic Booms someone can take before their mind breaks and they want to start jumping. At that point, that's when the old flash kick comes out and deals with them. Now, everyone is unfortunately not as blessed as Guile. Some people have different buttons. Either they have maybe a traditional Shoryuken, maybe they have a specific button that's their anti-air that works. Some people, just meeting them air to air is the option. You got to learn it. It's specific character to character. One character being better at anti-airing than another is very much core to the game, right? Not everyone has the same strengths, not everyone has the same weaknesses, but rest assured, especially if you're a beginner, you're going to fight a lot of people that are going to jump, and jump, because over-reliance on jumping is a crutch, right? And the more frustrated you get with the game, the more you're going to jump, and the more you're going to have to be able to deal with it. So I highly suggest you learn what your character's anti-airs are, and use them, because especially on the lower levels of rank, you're just going to fight people that jump non-stop. Next up, let's talk crush counters. Now, crush counters has always been an important mechanic in this game. If you played earlier versions of Street Fighter V earlier in its lifespan, crush counters were a much bigger deal than they are now, to the point where a lot of them were just straight up overpowered, right? Now, they're still very good and you still want to get them, but they're not crazy like they used to be. So generally speaking, a lot of people have a move keyed to be a crush counter. So Urian stand heavy. And crush counters happen if you hit this move, in Urian's case once again stand heavy, as a counter hit. And from this, I can get a little bit of a combo. So I can do this, dash forward, and then, hey, there you go, nice 3 little hit combo. If counter hit was not on, and let's just turn that off really quick here, well then, it'll just be a regular old hit. Like, I get the hit, that's cool, right? But there's definitely no fancy animation, all that kind of stuff, and a little bit of a combo. You also gain a little bit of V-gauge on crush counters, just so you know. So that is another way to build them besides you yourself getting hit. Now, one thing to keep in mind, moves that are fully invincible, so we're using Ryu's EX uppercut here as an example, they will trigger the counter hit state, as you can see there. So counter hit is not on right now. So if I turn that off here, none of my moves are counter hits. But any move that is specifically an invincible move, so you can use it when you're waking up as like a get off me or whatever, those always count as counter hits when they are finished up. So in this specific scenario, if we blocked the uppercut that's coming, we know we can get our crush counter and go for there. And in Urian's example here specifically, he can get a little bit more crazy. That's why I picked him. So Urian stand heavy can also be held, and when it's held, it's special cancelable. So going from that, we're going to do a special crush counter combo. So there you go. Quite a bit more damage than the other combo we showed earlier, right? And that's specifically because I knew Ryu was going to fall from the X uppercut, so I had time to charge my stand heavy. And from that point, because it's special cancelable, I have a whole different combo route I can go to thanks to that and EX Fireball. So crush counters, they're good in neutral. If you are a character like Urian who can afford to just kind of toss these out neutral, that's great. But also know in specific punish situations, these are your big boy combos. These are the ones you want to go for. There is rare exceptions where non-crush counter combos do more than crush counter, but that is by far the minority of the whole thing, right? So yeah, crush counters are a big deal. They're very strong in neutral. Once again, all you gotta do is take your appropriate crush counter button and hit as a counter hit. There's a lot of situations where that will work. And in these specific situations where you block the big reversal, you can get some really big damage. So now let's talk whiff punishing and whiff canceling, as these are two very core mechanics of Street Fighter throughout all the years of the game's history. So in the last segment, we showed off Urian stand heavy and all the crush counter stuff, right? So say he's fishing for it, right? We definitely don't want to walk into it, but we can definitely react to that animation and punish him when he misses it. That's what we call whiff punishing. So I see him go for it, and then I smack him in the face. It's really that simple. One thing you can do is look for yourself, like your own guard animation. If a move just barely whiffs, it'll still force you to block, and that's a good idea. Okay, that I was forced him to block, and I didn't actually block anything. Therefore, he whiffed the move, because that's what we call proximity block, and I can go for my whiff punish. And if you block the move, whatever, and if you do too early, see, kind of eat dirt on that, right? So you want to react to it, right, specifically. And of course, on top of pure reaction, you can also read player tendencies and all that kind of stuff. Now, we have what we also call whiff canceling. So Birdie is stand medium and go into his headbutts, right? So what I want to do in this specific situation, if I'm just tossing out a button here and I'm hoping the enemy walks into it, I want to do the move and then also cancel my special into it. So by itself, nothing happens. You just see me whiff the button, right? But if it were to somehow connect, then my move would come out. Now, of course, in situations where, you know, you're just going back and forth, you want to make sure the whiff part of the whiff cancel is a big deal, right? You want them to walk into that move. If I'm going forward here and the move is blocked, I'm done for. It's punishable. I'm dead, right? So you want them to walk forward into it. So you want to do your back and forth and kind of just let the enemy walk into it. And situations like this, right? So I'm mildly safe if the move whiffs, because once again, they can whiff punish you too as well, right? Depends on the character, depends on the move. But if they stick out a button or if they walk into it, then magic takes care of itself. This goes all the way back to classic Street Fighter 2, where it was all about Ryu going down medium in the fireball, right? But much the same applies here. You just do the button, you do your special move. If it didn't connect, then whatever. You didn't commit to the special move. but if they somehow walk into it, your special will come out. So whiff punishing, whiff canceling, very important concepts in Street Fighter. Now, a pretty basic but very important concept in Street Fighter V is gray health. So, as you can see here, I'm hitting the enemy. Well, hey, their health ain't changing because they're blocking, right? And I'm hitting them with lights. But now let's hit them with a medium. And now let's look at Seth's health here. As you can see, there's some gray life, as it's called, building up. So, medium and heavy attacks in this game build gray life. And if we stop hitting Seth here for a second, as you can see, that gray life is starting to recover. But if at some point here, Seth stops blocking, and we give him any kind of smack, they lost all of that life. So it's basically a mechanic to dissuade you from being overly defensive. Because, yeah, sure, you might be blocking all this stuff here. But the potential reward here for the aggressor, making you just block and block and block and block and block and block, well, all of a sudden now if they tag you with something as simple as a quick little jab, that giant chunk of health is all gonna be gone. As you can see there. So on the subject of gray health, just beware, right? Don't let it get too high up so the enemy can punish you. And if you see it getting really high and built up, maybe it's time to take a little bit more of a risk or two, because a simple basic hit can get you a very big damage reward. Now, this is very key in Street Fighter V, is, of course, as with all Street Fighter games, we got light, medium, heavy punches, light, medium, heavy kicks, and of course you do special moves depending on which button press you did, right? But in this game specifically, the button you press can have drastic just actions and consequences for your special moves, and I think Ryu is one of the best examples, because each one of his Dragon Punches, be it light, be it medium, be it heavy, or be it the EX version, all have different properties, and you want to know all of them. So in older revisions of this game, specifically Season 1, the uppercut kind of worked like it always did, in that it's just basically invincible to everything, right? So in this, right now, current version of Street Fighter V, that's not the case. The EX version, the one you have to spend bar on, does have full invincibility. Nothing can stop it, and of course it gives you a nice little extra chunk of damage too. But the other versions, not so much. So the light version is throw immune. So if the enemy is walking up to you and planning on throwing you and you suspect throws coming, the light version will beat throws, but it'll still get stuffed if they try to hit you. The medium version has invincibility against jumping attacks. So if the enemy is jumping non-stop, the Shoryuken you want to anti-air him with is the medium one. The light version and the heavy versions are subject to trading. So the medium one is the anti-air one. The heavy one has some attack, like its regular strike, and projectile invincibility, but not right away. So after the first couple frames, then it'll be basically immune to everything but throws. But until then, if you're being attacked on your wake up or something and they're just doing melee attacks, attacking you as you're getting up, it'll get stuffed. So if you're being attacked while you're getting up, then the one to go for is the EX version, as that is the one that's just invincible to everything from the start. So even as something as just basic as a Dragon Punch, right? It really matters which button you press, and Ryu is far from the only character where this matters. I'll show you one more example. So for Gil, a lot of his basic projectiles. This is the light version of Pyrokinesis, this is the light version of Cryokinesis, and then hey, here's the medium. Completely different angle, right? So on top of having different properties like Ryu Shoryuken as we showed, the button you press can also completely change how the move works, right? So it's not as simple as heavier button equal better move. Like something as basic as this here, right? Quick little combo, and this is with the light version of the Ice Elbow. And if I want to do this with medium, doesn't combo. And of course doesn't combo with heavy, because light version's the fastest. Maybe does the least amount of damage, but it's the only one that's suited for that combo. So just really pay attention to which version of the button you're hitting, because it can make a very big difference. Now here comes a very big question. Okay, so I'm new to the game, which characters should I try out? Well, there are unfortunately right and wrong answers. Some characters just inherently are easier to understand. I know there's a lot of you Jury fans out there, a lot, right? But Jury unfortunately is not one of the easier characters to learn the game with. Maybe once you got a hang of the game, sure, But to start with, I wouldn't recommend Juri, but which characters would I recommend? Well, first up, I would recommend Ryu. Ryu is the face of fighting games. If you've never played Street Fighter before now, I know you know who he is. There's no way to avoid this guy. Of this whole crazy genre of games we love and been playing all of our lives, this guy is the face of everything. And he has a lot of the good basics to work with. He is basically just a good all-rounder. Now, in the current revision of Street Fighter V, I'm not going to tell you Ryu's the best character, because he's not. But he's better than the doldrums he's suffered through in previous seasons. But he's certainly not top tier, but he has everything he needs to work with. He's got serviceable buttons. He's got decent range, especially, like crouch medium is pretty good. He obviously is the master of Hadouken, so if you want to spam fireballs all day, he's a really good practitioner of that. And of course, if you want to just jump after getting fireballed to death, then he's really good at slapping you down to the ground. On top of that, his basic combo structure, like just something like this, it's really easy. Like without getting into the more tricky stuff, he can just do quite a bit and just work from there. He's not too difficult to learn, and he basically gives you all the tools you need to succeed in this game while teaching you what a lot of this game is. Next up, I would recommend Chun-li. Now, just to get out there, at a high level of play, Chun-li is one of the, if not the most demanding character in the game, as far as like raw execution goes. But we're not talking about the ultra high levels, we're just talking about basic play. And at basic play, Chun-li works just fine. As we talked over earlier, she's got King Kong normals. It is very difficult for a lot of characters to work their way past her Stand Fierce. Stand Heavy's also incredibly long range as well. She has really good space control with Koken. She can just do it all. Stand Light, also pretty decent anti-air as well. When it comes to just playing at a basic level, Chun-li is very good at it. The advanced stuff, worry about that later. Maybe check the Chun-li tips and tricks guide if you want to see that kind of stuff. But yeah, at a very basic level, just hit buttons, do basic stuff like fireballs, all that kind of stuff. She controls space great, and she's just really good at just playing the most basic level of the game. I would note here, V-skill wise, please pick V-skill 1. V-skill 2, while on paper it looks good, it is really, really bad. V-skill 1 at least gives you like a different jump angle. And V-trigger 1 is a little bit more confusing because it changes like just how she works, versus her V-trigger 2 is a big old just blunt hammer to smash people's heads in, and if you charge it up all the way, it's unblockable. So just I would personally recommend V-trigger 2 to V-trigger 1 for Chun-li. Next, I would recommend Necalli. Necalli plays a pretty basic game. At high level play, some people say that's boring, but whatever. I think it's fine, and it's always worked. He's always been a good character throughout the life of this game. So once again, the basics are fine. I would recommend V-trigger 1. It's an aimable ground pound. You can do far versions, you can do close versions. And what makes this good is it just happens. There's no travel time or anything, so it doesn't have to work its way across the screen. It just hits. And every time you connect, you also build your V-trigger, which is good. And his V-trigger, well, when you do his V-trigger, he just basically goes Super Saiyan, and it's permanent. So everything he does gets better, everything he does more damage. He's just literally a better character all around, and you don't have to worry about it past that. There's no meter management, timer management, all that kind of stuff. He does have uppercuts, so if you want to jump at him, then we can deal with that pretty good. As far as neutral control goes, Stand Heavy is a really good whiff punish button. Stand Heavy Kick is also a really good footsies button itself. He has the stomps, and the stomps are all sorts of good for all sorts of pressure and all that kind of stuff. He has command grabs as well. Normally, on a more just kind of straightforward archetype in fighting games, this kind of character wouldn't have a command grab, but this one does. So you can definitely make good use of that. And yeah, he's just really good for what he is. Once again, maybe a bit basic. Basic's not a bad thing. He basically has everything you need in the character in a really easy to understand package, and a really good package. Another character I would recommend is Abigail. Now, Abigail offers a bit of a different experience than the other characters I've mentioned so far, because he's really big and he's pretty slow, but He's easy to understand. You're the big guy, and you do big guy things. That's all you really got to get in your head at first, right? To note here, his normals, his basic moves, like especially crouch medium, pretty much outranged the bulk of the cast. So if you want to go down medium punch, stand heavy punch, all that kind of stuff, most characters are gonna struggle against that. They're just not gonna have the same range to work with, right? So they gotta figure out something. Usually it entails a lot of jumping, and his stand light is an amazing anti-air. Like, you don't even really gotta worry about it too much. You just swat him out of the air, you're good to go. He also has the grappler experience, so he does have command grabs, and command grabs cannot be teched unlike regular grabs. You just kind of eat crap, right? He also has the run. The run gives another kind of command grab, and a little bit of a guessing game in that I can go for the command grab, or I can go for a strike, that kind of stuff. Also, I can go for a running punch, which at the tip of the move is safe on block, so you don't gotta worry too much about it. But yeah, so he's got a very easy to understand game plan, and he does a lot of damage for very basic stuff. Like, his basic stuff, for the most part, is more damaging than other characters in the game. So it's just an easy to understand package. Now, V-Skill wise, I'd recommend V-Skill 2, the Tire. V-Skill 1 shores up a lot of his defensive problems, but to even understand what those are, that requires several levels more of understanding of the game. Versus Tire, just call the Tire, and it works. Like, you get so many gimmicks. You don't even need the gimmicks. You can just have it just be a projectile to hide behind and just go from there, right? So that's good. And also, as far as V-Triggers, V-Trigger 1 makes his combo potential better and does give him access to an unblockable, but V-Trigger 2 already gives him access to an unblockable and has a million hits of armor. So once again, it's one of the situations where you can just use it as a blunt hammer, and also it winds up working as a combo extender as well. So it's a lot easier to understand on the base level. Now let's talk combos. Combos, it can be a bit to wrap your head around, other than like the most basic kind of stuff like that, right? Jump kick and the crouch medium and the fire. If you come from other games like, say, Dragon Ball FighterZ, a lot of combo structure is like A and the B and the C, and that's not how this works outside of what we call target combos. So like, this is a target combo for Ryu. This is medium into heavy punch and a heavy kick. But those are rare, and a lot of characters don't even have target combos. For the most part, we have what we call links, where we're going to link one move into another. Now, one exception is, generally speaking, stuff like lights. Lights chain into themselves, so you can cancel a light into another light. But that doesn't work for everything else. We're going to have to use what we call the links. So first up here, if you're in training mode, please go to attack data and turn that on. If it's off, you don't get any of this helpful info, because numbers are a part of fighting games, and knowing the numbers helps. So we know, say this, Ryu stand medium punch is 5 frame startup, and also if you want to see all the frame data, there'll be a link in the video description. They'll bring you to a place that has all the frame data, but we know it's 5 frames, right? So right here, stand light, it says we're +4. You can see that blue stuff above the bar, right? So +4, since we have 5 frame startup, that means this doesn't combo. Won't combo. But stand medium has 7 frames of advantage after hit, so that goes into another stand medium. And from there, we can just combo out, right? So stand medium, hurricane kick. Easy peasy. Stand medium, uppercut. Easy as you please, right? But say this move here, definitely a lot slower than 7 frames, so this move just is not gonna combo. Now, that's not to say that heavies never cut combo for mediums. Our crouch heavy is 6 frames. Since we have 7 frames to work with, that means it'll combo. But of course, gotta be a little crisp. If you're a little slow, it's not gonna combo. And then, hey, you got it. Also, just so you know, there's what we call a buffer system. So you can hit the button a little bit early, and it will still come out. The input is what we call the buffer, and as soon as the move is able to come out, then it will. Now, you can't do it too crazy early, but just so you know. And from there, so stand medium into crouch heavy, into hurricane kick, and that's the combo. So looking at these numbers is very important, because they really dictate what you can do outside of special canceling. So special canceling, not every move is special cancelable, but you can just do whatever button into a special move, and that's generally, on a lot of cases, the end of the combo, but sometimes not. So in this scenario here in the corner, what we want to do is not go for that hurricane kick, we want to go for EX hurricane kick. and that knocks the enemy up into a juggle state. And from this juggle state, we can get even more hits. Now, the sad part is the move list doesn't necessarily tell you what moves cause juggles and all that. Just, you know, they didn't think of that stuff back in the day, I guess. Once again, check the video description, the link there. It'll tell you every property of every move for every character. That'll help. But sometimes it's just got to trial and error this kind of stuff. Because it's not immediately obvious, but if it looks like it can juggle, generally speaking, it can juggle. Sometimes it's really obvious. Like Ryu's Yule Kick, they bounce off the wall, you betcha you can definitely follow up after that. As you can tell right there, right? So sometimes it's very easy to tell, but sometimes, once again, just check the video description link, it'll sort you out there. But yeah, once again, the long and short is this. Whatever the number it says you're plus by. So if it's +7, I can use a move at 7 frame startup or faster and go for it and link into that. So that's why we can do this into this. Now, things change wildly on counter hit. So counter hit always adds 2 extra frames. So in this scenario here, now it is +9 instead of +7. Now, of course, that stand light earlier was +4, so it could not go into stand medium, but now it's +6. So that means it can go into stand medium. So before, this kind of combo wouldn't be possible. Now it is. We can actually work from there. So knowing if you're going to get a counter hit, be it if the enemy's mashing or they whiffed an invincible move, if you know you're going to go for a counter hit, man, that changes combo structure big time. So say we knock the enemy down, right? We want to go for some safe pressure. We can do this. Knock them down. And let's go jab into stand medium. And if they hit any buttons at all, it's a counter hit combo. And jab, you know, obviously beat up any buttons they do in wake up. And once you know it, there's a counter hit combo. So normally, obviously, without the counter hit, the stand light can never go into the stand medium, but it could. That's awesome. There you go. It's that simple. So just keep in mind, once again, every move on counter hit gives you an extra 2 frames to work with, meaning counter hit combos give you all new combo routes. And keep in mind, it's not always about getting the biggest, baddest combo. So back heavy kick for Ryu, it's -2 on block, which it's pretty, like, it is safe, right? And it has a bit of pushback here, so unless they're a grappler, they can't throw you afterwards. You can just kind of hold back, and there's not too much of consequence that'll happen if it gets blocked. And if you connect, it's +4, as you can see here. And when you know what else is 4 frame startup is his stand light kick. And his stand light kick goes right into Shoryuken, so then all of a sudden, that's a combo, right? And if it gets blocked, whatever. You got plenty of time to visually assess if it's blocked or not. We call it hit confirming, where you see if the move is blocked or if it wasn't blocked. And then from there, okay, if it wasn't blocked, cool, it's combo time. If it was blocked, whatever, just chill. Keep in mind too, when comboing into super moves, not every move that is super cancelable is special cancelable. So Chun-Li, she can go down medium kick and fireball just fine, right? And of course, you can go into super just fine as well. But she can do her stand heavy punch into a super move, but she cannot do that same stand heavy punch into a special cancel. So in this specific, well, admittedly easy combo, because it's just stand heavy into super, this would be something she'd fish for in neutral. As we talked about earlier in the whiff punching section, she could just do this and buff her super into it, and if she gets that straight hit, then all of a sudden we get a super, right? So just keep in mind, some moves are super cancelable, but not special cancelable when it comes to combos. And of course, there's the tricky stuff too, right? There's more than just the numbers. Like this combo specifically, from the beta, before the game even came out years ago in 2016, people ask me, how on earth do you do this, right? Because Chun-Li, due to her spinning bird kick, you need to charge down, then up and kick. And this specific combo of down light punch, stand medium punch, down medium kick into bird kick has flummoxed people forever, right? So what you have to do is hit crouch, light punch, let go, stand medium, then immediately hold down, like before the animation's even done, then down medium kick, then up and medium spinning bird kick. So there can be a lot more advanced stuff as well. Don't worry too much about that. Don't worry about too much, like, you know, the big fancy 15 hit combos. Just worry on the basics for now. So nowadays, you don't have to do that. That always plagued a lot of people who want to learn Chun-Li because that was a very important combo. But now you can just do crouch play punch, stand medium punch, crouch medium kick, and there's no specific timing for that. Just hit the buttons in the order, and you'll get the combo unless you drop it while you're talking, which I do all the time. But yeah, from there, now you can just go and do heavy lightning legs, right? So that's just a regular quarter circle forward, heavy kick, boom, easy combo ender, and all of a sudden you got a very easy, very accessible bread and butter combo. Don't got to worry about too much, and of course, by looking at the frames, she's +5 there. This takes 5 frames to start up. Well, you know what? That's +6. This takes 6 frames to start up, and this is special cancelable, and that's how it all works out. So all the numbers bleed into each other, and that is linking all the combos. That is basic combo theory in Street Fighter V. Now, if you go into the menus, there are combo trials for a lot of the characters. Some of them are out of date, and they'll tell you if they're out of date, because various patches change how various moves work, all that kind of stuff. So I would suggest checking those out. They'll give you a very good idea of what combos work for what characters. Of course, on YouTube, there's a million combo videos out there. Heck, I got some myself, right? Check them out. But yeah, you can go from there. Also, while you're here in training mode, please make use of training mode's features. There's a lot of good stuff. Once again, attack data, very big. Frame advantage and color is also a very good idea. It's basically, simply put, whenever someone is advantage, they're blue. When someone's at disadvantage, they are red. So you can just easily see, color-coded wise, what's going from there. Key display gives you just all the inputs on the side, which is always handy to have. So if you drop a combo, you can see where you screwed up, maybe add like an extra input you didn't need to add. These things are there to help you. Please make use of them. And my friends, that is Street Fighter V. So there is so much more to talk about. Both systems-wise, gimmicks-wise, tech-wise, character-wise, all that kind of stuff. But this video is probably already long enough as it is, and I don't want to overwhelm you with what's possible. This should be enough to get your feet wet and to understanding how Street Fighter V works. So with all that said, once again, check the video description. There'll be some helpful links for you there as well. And I guess that's the end of this video. So my friends, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Street Fighter.